Warning, the following episode is going to contain hijinks, phenomenal music, and may make you stop your car on the side of the road.
End of story.
Bark, bark, bark. Welcome back, my friends, to the Obscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should have beens. I am Kevin Williams. That
is Ronnie James DOG.
And that over there
is the owner of the said Ronnie James DOG.
Owner of the dog that he can't control.
Nope.
Robert Harrison.
He knows there is something on top of the counter here.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, okay.
He saw me bring it down from upstairs.
All right.
I usually try to sneak it down, but he saw me all the way down, so he's very interested right now.
That sounds like button pushing material.
Yeah.
We going to jump into it, or do you want to tell me what's going on with your world?
Oh, I just got back from joyride in my big fire truck.
Explain.
It was a beautiful night, and
wait, let's pause there because we've been given other weather reports over the past couple of weeks. This is a whole new weather report.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put in the cue music. Cue the music, team. Get on it.
And now let's kick it back on over to
Robert Harrison
for our 5-day weather forecast.
Robert.
This is for all of our Canadian fans and Upper New York State fans. That I think it's still probably in the 30s. What do you think? I don't check the weather up there. It's probably waist deep.
I don't care anymore
snow.
because it's like nice and tropical.
It was
here
65 degrees today.
Yeah.
It was glorious.
Oh yeah, sun was out.
Yeah, it was awesome. Tomorrow, 65 degrees. It's going to be nap time on the rooftop tomorrow.
Oh man,
after lunch.
Seems like just last week we were
saying
it was bitch-ass cold.
Here. It was sucked. Yeah, it sucked. It'll be that way again. Don't worry.
You dicks!
But yeah, it was a beautiful day, and before I went for the ride, I was making a pizza. I was like, time. It's like 4:45. It's time for first dinner. So I made a pizza, and then I get a text message from my friend Kristen. She's like, hey, you should bring the fire truck over to so-and-so's house tonight.
I get those messages all the time.
Yeah. And I was like, I just made a pizza. But she's like, maybe like 6:30, come on over. I'm like, I got this podcast thing I got to do, but I think there's enough time. So it'd been a while. Took the big fire truck for a little jaunt. Let it stretch its legs. Got it up to 41 miles an hour.
Was it shaking?
Yes, violently.
Rattling, shaking.
It is a death trap at 41 miles an hour. There's no seat belts, sketchy brakes. It's 80 years old, but it hangs in there, and it sounded glorious. Started up with a push of the button. It's my most reliable vehicle. 80 years old, cranks every time.
Nice.
It's a beast. So took it down there, cleaned out the carbs, and got there, and it's a house full of moms, hot moms.
Yeah, baby! Hot moms.
Having like their Wednesday night wine drinking thing. They get together.
Were they all liquored up already?
It was early. If any other day I would have stayed later, but because I had to come back, because you're a priority. Kevin Williams, are a priority in my life. So I was like,
priority over 6 women. Wow.
Ladies, I know you want me to stay, but I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to do this thing. It's a podcast. It's cool.
Yep. Head over to Swingin' Richards.
Yeah. Had some wine, came home, like, oh, God. And then, of course, you text me as I'm pulling in the driveway. You're like, hey, I'm going to be about 20 minutes late. I'm like, damn it. Son of a... Yeah, it was awesome. I got to meet with fire marshals yesterday. That was another fun time.
Okay. Because of an issue or for some other reason?
They know me. And so this church thing that I bought, I'm going through a rezoning. And so they heard about this rezoning, and they just figured I was up to something. They're like, what is he hiding? And they called me. They're like, hey, Robert.
They called you out.
Yeah, they called me on my phone because they have my number. They're like, hey, Robert. I'm like, hey, Tim. So, we heard about this church thing. What's going on? I'm like, well, here's what I'm doing. Hey, mind if we come and, just take a look? It's not the official inspection, but we just want to...
Just a little look-see.
Yeah, just to, head it off at the pass type thing. I'm like, come on. And so they show up, and we're walking through, and they see a fire extinguisher from back in the day, not one of mine, but a relic. And they look at the inspection tag, and it says 1980.
Oh, that was the year.
That was the year, last time. And they started laughing. They took pictures of it, and they said,
classic.
This is officially the oldest inspected fire extinguisher we have ever seen.
In an uncondemned building.
Yeah, in an active building that people still. This is in the sanctuary part, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Okay, let's go check this other building," and it's like their dining hall building, and I'm like, "What do you think about this?" And it said 1973.
Woo!
So I made their day. I mean,
Wow.
They came in expecting to find me, up to something, and
They're probably like, that was inspected by my grandfather.
Uncle Herbert. Yeah, so that was fun to give them a fun time, and when they're laughing, they're not really paying attention to other things, so you distract
Right.
like shiny things over here, get them laughing.
look over there.
Yeah, and then they don't see a bunch of other stuff. So
Right.
it was fun.
Well, that's good. Hopefully they don't listen to podcasts.
No, I didn't tell them anything about this. This
Okay,
is
good.
secret. Shh.
All right. Shh.
It's just you and I and Steve and Tony, the chairman.
The
And
chairman.
I think somebody named Kristen might listen to.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. So yeah, hit the button.
Oh, yes. I'm about to eat some.
That's right, Munchketeers. It's time to get your grub on with the chef that can give it to you funky style.
Roberts, Gardner Eaton. That's right now, Roberts, Gardner Eaton. Wow!
All right. I've already taken the play off. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's all
revealed.
right. That's all right. So this is just a weird concoction.
Smells good. It smells like it has some veggies in it, though.
It does.
Okay.
So it's a biscuit, but it's very untraditional where I crammed as many vegetables as I could without it tasting bad, and then added some protein. So it's got
Protein
chicken,
veggie biscuit.
lean chicken. So it's
What's your
broccoli, celery, onions, and ground chicken, and then a little bit of cheddar cheese and a biscuit. Mm-hmm. And I put them in the fridge, and for breakfast, I'll grab 2 or 3, throw them in a toaster oven. Afternoon snack, throw them in a toaster oven. It just keeps me from grabbing junk food or anything unhealthy.
That is a tasty biscuit.
Do you like it?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
I like
good,
that.
good. I completely made that up. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just thought this
We need
needs
a
to be
name
healthier.
for it, though.
Yeah, broccoli cheddar cheese chicken biscuit doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, I'll have to woodshed that. I don't know. Healthy biscuits, drop. Yeah, I'll follow up with a
This
good
is
name.
a meal and a biscuit.
It is. It 2 of those will fill you up. Yeah, you make them ahead of time. Like I said, keep them in the fridge.
Buddy, I'm sorry. You're probably not going to get any.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right. He's been fed.
All I had was cereal for dinner, so this is going down.
Let me guess, you were by yourself.
Yep.
I wouldn't guess that if your wife was home.
Nope.
So what kind of cereal do you have for dinner, Kevin? Count Chocula? All these different cereals that we've been
I had the
promoting?
the colon blow.
Oh, no. Bran.
Raisin bran.
Oh, God.
Hold it. Is that what you're having for breakfast?
Sure. Haven't you heard? Fiber is really good for you.
Well, there's fiber, and then there's high fiber. Try this.
Colon blow. Sounds delicious. But is it really higher in fiber than my oat bran cereal?
Take a guess. How many bowls of your oat bran cereal would it take to equal the fiber content of 1 bowl of colon blow?
2,
Guess again.
3,
A little higher.
4,
We'll give you one more guess.
9.
Not even close. It would take over 30,000 bowls. To eat that much oat bran, you'd have to eat 10 bowls a day every day for 8.5 years.
Wow! I'm convinced.
Colon blowing you in the morning.
Colon blow and new super colon blow.
Warning, may cause abdominal distension. Consult a physician.
It's going to be a moving experience.
You got another test coming up or something like that? You're trying to prep for it? It's the same thing.
Yum. This is so good.
Thank you.
This might be my favorite thing that you've made.
And it's healthy. Like I said, healthy-ish. It's still a biscuit, but it's...
Well, it's the cheese and the chicken that kind of...
Yeah, it's
and the crunchiness on the
satisfying.
outside.
Yeah, like put them in the toaster oven. It crisps up a little bit. Crisps.
That is so good.
All right, well, maybe we'll hand those out at Rockin' Pod instead of my chocolate balls. If people are going to love this segment, it's just Kevin smacking his gums. Sounds like you were giving... Never mind.
Swinging Richards.
Homer.
Ew! Oh, behave! Yeah! Yeah, baby, yeah!
That's a disappointed dog right there.
If I give him the plate, he's going to be really mad.
He's like, fuck you.
Now let me wash this down.
Oh, yeah,
with
what are you
this
drinking? What are you drinking,
This
Gavin?
tasty beverage. All right, so we have not named the hot toddy. So I'm just going to call it toddy time. That doesn't
Toddy
sound
time?
good. Yeah, no, that's not good, is
Well, that's still pretty general. I mean, it's tea rum.
it? Right. Tea rum. Yeah.
No.
No.
Not
nothing,
there?
Nothing.
Not there?
Nope.
Okay.
Hated it.
We'll figure it out.
We'll edit this out and come back and put it at the end of the episode.
Exactly. Oh, man. Anything else going on in your world, or you want to get into this?
That's enough for 2 days.
All right. Well,
I don't remember what happened 3 daone ago.
after you enjoy a very healthy biscuit, or what do they call them in the UK? Because biscuits are cookies. So what do they call
Scone.
biscuits?
It's a scone,
Okay.
I think.
Well, all right.
We'll have to ask. Do we know anybody over there?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Honest to God, it boils my piss.
We know a few people.
Okay,
yeah.
well, we'll reach out.
All right. Well, after you enjoy a biscuit or a scone that is also stuffed with veggies and chicken, go listen to Pod of Thunder, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, Slamfest Podcast, Decibel Geek, A to Z Radio, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Hustle, Disciples of the Watch, Podcast Rock City, Sean Geek and Fast Fret Podcast, State of Amorica, Rock Strikes 10, Potter Than Hell, Shout It Out Loud Cast, The Kiss Room, Ages of Rock, Retrocess Podcast, and Don't Forget About Monty.
Hey, this is Monty Colvin from Galactic Cowboys and Monty's Rockcast, and you are listening to the amazing In Obscuria podcast. Rock on!
Monty's Rockcast. Come visit us in obscuria.com. Like us, share us, Facebook, X, Instagram.
You notice how spacious the studio is now?
It's very spacious, very empty. Yes.
Yeah,
You took all our shit.
took about half the furniture over to the new art studios next door. Now, look, we have plenty of room for gymnastics. Or if we want to, for
Good.
tumbling. I
Good.
know we've always talked about doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do after
Yep.
drinking these hot toddies is
Sure.
do a little tumbling.
Mm-hmm.
You did a little
Shake it
tumbling
up.
that time you had all that bourbon, I think.
I tumbled up the stairs. Don't know how I did that, but yeah, I managed to fall up the stairs.
Very nice. Well, a few weeks ago, we asked the people. We reached out to the people. People, let me tell you something. No, let me ask you something, people. And the people, let us know that they were on board with our desire to talk about a certain band from the Great White North.
Take off.
So,
Did you know that was...
What? What did you say?
Said take off?
You said take off.
Such a hose hand. Yeah, well, take off.
Take off to the great white north. Take off. It's a beauty way to go. Take off to the great white north.
Hey, hose hand. Yeah, what? Yeah, listen to this was coming. You know what it is? What? It's a drum solo.
Okay, everyone, like this is me on the drums.
Oh, get out. It is not. It is so. Stop
I
lying, will you? Take off.
Did you know that was their... And it may be getting this backwards. It was either their highest charting single or biggest selling single.
Yeah,
for
one
Rush.
of those. Yeah, one
for
of those.
Rush.
Yep.
You think about all their great records, this dumbass parody song, and that ends up being what they're remembered for. And that the way it goes, nobody remembers, Tom Sawyer, all these great songs, Subdivisions.
Okay. That's right. So it is episode 268. Grave mistake. Rush. No, I'm sorry. Triumph. Should have been huge. Part 2.
And I guess before we start, I have to have a little bit of a disclaimer here that I know I'm going to get completely smacked in the head by Kevin's intelligence because
yes.
I made a couple of statements of fact the last time we talked about Triumph.
If my intelligence is in my pants.
Ow!
So yeah, I made the bold statement that at least Triumph didn't get caught up in all the silliness and cheesiness of the late 80s. Glorious cheese, but it was cheesy nonetheless. Power ballads and bullshit like that. And the very next morning, The next morning, after that podcast episode was recorded.
Did the algorithm school you?
I'm eating breakfast, and I all of a sudden pull up Facebook, and it feeds a video of Triumph 1987, and I was just horrified. Like, oh, I've never seen this. I mean, I've been looking at Triumph videos all the time, and it's always the early 80s and just the glory years for them. And I sat there and went, oh, I just completely was full of crap. Yeah,
you probably didn't recognize Rick Emmett or his hair or the ridiculous outfit.
Yep.
Or
they were
the
like
guitar.
a cave or something, and it luckily at the bottom it said Triumph, and I went, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
my heroes really did go cheesy. So yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah,
very very wrong.
We're about to take some interesting turns. I think that's how I said it last week. So we're going to take some interesting turns today. But first, let's once again get the approval of the official In Obscuria Ministry of Diabolica.
She's a ministress.
Captain Content. And this is my faithful companion,
Mighty K.
Say hello.
This is the bullshit that I've got to deal with. Again, kind of cringed when you talked about it. Yikes. Do Triumph, do obscure songs and such. Oh, Canada. I like you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's official.
I'm thinking that means she didn't really like the episode, but why not?
Ministress Mighty K.
Yes, Mighty K. Perhaps approves, perhaps just doesn't give a shit.
Nope.
So we'll just move on.
She has to deal with our bullshit.
All right, so last week we went over a bunch of facts in history, including our own personal backgrounds with Triumph. We talked about, where they came from, how they came to be Triumph and all that stuff. And we're just going to bring you up to speed with this.
How are these guys not as big as Led Zeppelin?
Live rock and roll should be big and great and fantastic.
That's the element of rock and roll that keeps adolescent youth so gonzo about it.
That gathering of 14,000 people in a hockey rink is the epitome of what we do.
They had so many lights, it looked like a used car parking lot.
A lot of flying bees and feathered hair.
Rick Emmett wore really tight pants. And there's Levine rocking a stash in a hockey jersey. How Canadian can you get? These guys are from Toronto, and they're blowing shit up.
Triumph. Overkill has always been one of my philosophies.
And I was just like, whoa, this jumped out at the radio at me.
Triumph stood out a little bit special and different and put on a great show.
Suddenly people realized this Canadian music is damn good, and we should be promoting it to the world. They just kept going and going and going, and then all of a sudden, that's it.
That day changed the life of a Triumph fan forever.
We never got to say goodbye to them, and they never got to say goodbye to us.
And we were left missing something.
All right, well, let's get into this week, shall we? So we covered albums 1 through 6. We ended with their amazing performance at the US Festival in 1983 in front of 670,000 people. And now we get the rest of the story.
All right, Walter Cronkite.
I don't think it was Walter Cronkite.
Who was it?
It was it was a radio personality, but I don't remember his name.
Oh, no, that was, that guy. Yeah. The rest of the story. Paul.
I think you're right. I think it was Paul something.
Paul Stanley?
Toronto! You feel good!
No.
Paul Bostad.
That was the rest of the story, people!
And now, people!
God, we're old. We don't even remember that Paul dude. What's his name?
We keep giving references to that band, though. How are we already there? That that band that you keep referencing. And
3-4 references to... what was it? And Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey. For the rest of the story.
of the story. Ridiculous pauses. Like, I thought he was having aneurysms.
Paul Stanley, Paul Harvey?
Have you ever seen them together?
Nope, never have.
See?
And now, the rest of the story.
Listen! We got any people tonight that are high?
And that's your Kiss connection with a K. Probably the only one you're getting today.
We're going far away from Rock City.
All right, so what I just played was from a great documentary by a Canadian heavy metal filmmaker, Sam Dunn. His production company is called Banger Films. They put out a bunch of really good rock and roll documentaries, and they did one on Triumph called Rock and Roll Machine. We referenced it last week. I'm going to play a couple of little clips from it because it helps tell the story as Triumph sort of starts to unfold and morph a little bit as they get towards the end of their career. But we're still going to play amazing songs today because no matter what the record label had them do, they still had Triumph songs on the records. They never had a bad record. They just had some odd records.
Okay.
So we'll get your opinion.
All right.
But we'll see.
I'll be the judge of that.
So if you want to go see that, or if you want to watch Triumph Rock and Roll Machine, came out in 2022. I could only find it here on Amazon, and I had to pay for it.
Yeah.
A rental.
Next pandemic, I'm definitely downloading that.
Maybe it's on YouTube. I don't know. I didn't check.
At some point it will be.
All right. So we're going to skip all the stuff. Again, 10 full-length albums, so we're just going to continue on with album number, what are we on, 6? I believe we're on 6. Okay, so the last album that we reviewed before the live song was Never Surrender. That was on RCA Records. And all of their albums, well, I guess since album number 3, they had been on RCA. They were on Attic Records in Canada prior to that. But they got signed, or they were, I guess, had an issue with their contract and got signed by Irving Azoff. And he had a new label, or he had just taken over a label, MCA. And I'll just let him and let the band tell you a little bit of that story.
We've lost in court. We have to buy the contract out from RCA. How much does RCA want?
$3 million.
That money was an advance. We were going to have to sell, 5 million, 6 million records on the next record in order to start getting back to level again.
We had already recorded Thunder 7, so we figured whoever liked that album was going to sign us, if they came up with the dough as well.
Irving Azoff had just taken over MCA, which was not the greatest label at the time.
When I went to MCA, it was this joke of a record company in the Valley that nobody wants to sign to. We had nowhere to go but up when we started. Having been a manager, I believed that the core to a band's longevity was the ability to tour well and sell tickets. Triumph was a arena sellout headlining megastar. They kind of checked all the boxes for what we were looking for in those days.
So we went over to meet Irving. We sat down for lunch and Irving said, okay, so I got the worst label, but I'll pay the most money. So what do you guys want for lunch?
That's my kind of meeting.
Yeah,
right
that's when I heard that, I was like, that's exactly the story that Robert would tell for something. So basically they get signed by MCA, and that's where they're going to finish out the rest of their career as it is written. So if you remember my story from last week, Thunder 7 is the first Triumph album I ever heard. Brandon still bought it when we heard that this band Triumph was similar to Rush. And we listened to it. I remember in my basement, I remember vividly on the crappiest stereo system that my dad had because he always bought the shittiest.
Realistic, right, from Radio Shack.
I think it was a realistic. I think you're right. And it just sounded like crap. And that may have been part of the reason I was like, it's all right. It's not Rush. Because I was wanting Rush, and it's Triumph. They're not Rush. It's different. 3 guys from Canada, but still.
But completely different.
It's completely different.
Other than that.
How does that happen? But this album is probably the closest they did get to Rush because it is a little more proggy than prior records. I think maybe because they were MCA wanted to lean heavily on Rick. And that was kind of from the get-go. They were like, oh, we need more Rick songs.
And less the drummer songs.
And less of Gil's stuff, even though Gil's stuff was heavier. But Triumph were already kind of morphing. You had made the statement, man, they're sounding metal all of a sudden. They went from, classic hard rock to metal pretty much in 2 albums. And this is kind of continuing on that, but this is now throwing in a little bit of that progginess, which in turn also throws in a little bit of that AOR, because 80s prog was basically AOR. If you think Asia, yes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even Rush, even early 80s Rush is a little AOR-y without the power ballad thing. But anyway, that's kind of what this is, and probably the closest they ever got to sounding like Rush. Probably not what they were trying to do, but just in my head, that's how it sounds. Another cool thing about this, we got another one. Another cool thing is this album is produced by Eddie Kramer. Eddie Kramer, known for producing Hendrix, Zeppelin, and another band that got really big with a live album that he produced. Who was that band? Was it...
Frampton Comes Alive.
No, that's not right.
The Monkees in Reno, Nevada.
What the hell did you just say?
No, that's not it.
Big.
No,
that was pretty big.
Kiss! You do have a second Kiss connection with a K. Yes, Eddie Kramer, the man who produced Alive and other albums by Kiss. But he produced this album for Triumph, certified gold in the U.S. April 21st, 2003. The album came out in 1984.
Took a minute
to go to gold.
Working there, getting there.
I thought that was really bizarre.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad they were still keeping check on it. Oh, look, it's there.
Wait a minute. What's going on over here? We should look at this.
Very bizarre. 19 years after its initial release, it goes gold. Now, at the time it came out, it was number 35 on the Billboard charts. It did go platinum in Canada in 1984. So Canadians love this album.
Yeah.
There is a song called Follow Your Heart. You may have heard that one. You may have seen a video to that one. That is a pretty high charting single for them, reached number 88 in the US and the UK. It has dual lead vocals from both Rick and Gil, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that might have been
the one you heard, but it was 84 when that came
this
out.
was 87. I remember looking at it.
Follow Your Heart's a great song. It is a little more AOR sounding, not really your classic Triumph sounding, but a great song on all their greatest hits albums, classic albums. So further proving my comparison to Rush, 3 songs on the second half of this album follow a concept based on time-related themes. So that is pretty Rushy and very proggy.
If it stands still, then.
Yes, good one. That was a good one. Do you remember who sang on that with Getty?
It was the young lady from Till Tuesday.
That's right.
What's her name? Amy Mann. Amy Mann. I love that song.
That was a really good song.
Yeah, really. The live version.
87. Yeah.
Damn it. That was a good song.
That's one of my first Rush albums, Hold Your Fire. Anyway, I digress. So that's
what we do, Kevin.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
This is the first album. This is such an 80s thing. This is the first album of theirs to be released on the new medium compact disc.
I was going to say, after the album going gold was simply 1,000 people bought it on album, and then they bought it on cassette, and they bought it on CD, and then they downloaded it, and then they went and bought it on albums again because they'd thrown them all away. So it's really just the compound effect of the same people.
In 2003, that's how we got there?
Exactly.
Yeah, probably right.
It wasn't new people.
I will say I own probably 3 copies of this. So.
There you go. So you're part
cassette
of that. Yeah. You might have put them over the edge.
I might have. It was me. You're welcome, Triumph.
Exactly.
Yeah, so not only is this the first one ever released on the new medium compact disc, but it was only available on compact disc when it first came out, and then a month or 2 later, they put it out on vinyl cassette because they were really trying to push. MCA was like, look at this new shiny thing that we have.
It was very shiny.
Yeah, and it cost you triple the amount of what you would pay for a cassette.
And it cost a fraction to actually make.
Right. They were expensive for a long time.
You don't have to press vinyl like you do a CD. Like, man, throw it in there, throw another one in the machine.
You can, if you're in a local band, you can make CDs so easily.
We did. I know. I sat there and ran them through your copying machine, basically, is what it was.
Well,
you can make multiple cassettes.
Even when we ordered them from the facility, it was like super inexpensive.
$1.50 each.
Nothing like, even when I did cassettes back in the 90s, that was a pain in the butt, and even vinyl was a real pain in the butt.
That's right, because we had some shrink wrapped, so that was definitely ordered from my head. The first couple CD
the demos
things,
we did ourselves.
Yeah, we did ourselves. But yeah, that last one, I remember that was shrink wrapped. I've still got a box of those. If anybody wants one.
Had a barcode on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we came a long way since 1984 when it was, I think, like $30, $1984 to get a CD. Something crazy.
I didn't hear about CDs till like 86.
That was going to be my next question. When did you hear about CDs? When did you have your first CD player?
First CD player was probably end of high school, first of college. It was a Walkman style CD player that I could,
because you could plug it into your car with a cassette.
That's exactly, yep. as I was thinking through it, I'm like, that's why I got the portable one. Yeah.
So if you don't remember or if you don't know because you're too young, yeah, they used to have these. So every car had a cassette deck.
Every car, even the cheapest pieces of crap.
And so we would get our Walkman CD players or something cheaper with some off-brand. And then it had, out of the headphone jack, you would plug in the cord, but it was attached to like this fake cassette tape, and that was when you put it in the player, it would allow the music to come out of the stereo.
So you had 3 or 4 different layers of fuzz to inject into this crystal clear CD sound.
And how about the skips?
Yeah,
because in those days,
when you hit a bump,
if you just looked at the player wrong, it would skip.
And there were trays you were supposed to, mounts you could put your CD player, but nobody did that. You shoved it between the seats.
That's right.
Where your seatbelt thing is, and then you would forget about it, and it would get stolen because everybody knew that you had a CD player sitting in the floorboard of your car.
Yeah, a CD player was, you wanted to make sure you hid that because
you had to lock
people,
it
that
up.
was a hot
You'd
item.
take it with you or lock it up, and I was too lazy, and it got stolen.
So do you remember your first CD that you actually purchased?
No, it was...
No?
90% sure it was a Pink Floyd CD, because by then I was heavy. Like this would be 88 roughly. I was heavy into Pink Floyd by then, and so I was buying all things Pink Floyd. And it was before I discovered the store near the college campus that sold albums for $1.50.
Right.
So I was still like wanting to do the CDs, so I'm 90% sure that it was a Pink Floyd. I couldn't tell you what it was.
So,
I have no idea.
I don't know why I remember this. I just remember it vividly. I remember the first time my cousin was older, my cousin Sandy. He's the one that gave me that heavy metal mixtape that we did a show on years ago. He brought home, I was visiting him at his, I think they were in Raleigh at that time. So Raleigh, North Carolina. I was visiting him at his house, and he brought home, I think it was like the Temptations and the Four Tops together.
Whoa.
It was
Barn burners.
I think it was called TNT. It was the Temptations and Tops. And it was a CD, and I had no idea what he was showing me. And he opened up like, you know what this is? I'm like, no. He's like, this is the best sounding music you're ever going to hear. And I'm like, the Temptations and the Tops? My dad listens to that. And he's like, just watch.
Just wait, son.
And so he takes me over to the console, and he had this huge console with this really big CD player in it.
It was tray would slide out.
The tray slid out, and I'm like, what is that? And he put it on. I'm like, oh, it's like a little record. He's like, no, man. He's like, it's digital.
Bless your heart.
And then he put it in, and it sounded like the Temptations, the Four Tops to me. I couldn't really tell any difference, but I was like, okay, so this is something new. And then he told me how much it cost. I'm like, oh, I'm not getting that.
Like, where does it play video or something? No, it's just music.
Well, I was just like, okay, whatever you say.
Whatever, man.
But then by that summer of 87, I believe it was, I was ninth grade-ish, and I went to the beach, and some kid had this boom box, and it had a CD player on the top of it, like built in. And that was the first time I'd seen boom boxes. I had my own boom box, but usually it was just 2 cassette players, so you could do the dual tape decks, so you could make your own tapes.
Dubbing.
But this was like a big boom box, and it had the dual tape decks, but it also had the CD player on the top that opened up, like a door on the top. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. And I told my parents about it. And come Christmas time, 1987, I got that very boom box for
Santa
Christmas.
Claus was good to you.
Santa Claus was good to me. And Santa gave me my first 3 CDs.
Which ones were those? Handpicked by
Santa himself.
The dentist.
Yes.
Mr.
Santa
Williams.
dentist.
Dr. Williams.
I had Striper, Soldiers Under Command. I had Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith, and Kiss. Lick It Up.
Did they think Judas Priest was a religious, like a Christian man? Because it said Defenders of the Faith. Your mom probably went, oh, that's a good Christian band.
No, they knew. By that point in time, they knew, because they had to drive me to guitar lessons, or well, maybe that was prior to that. At one point, they knew exactly what I was into because they had to drive me to guitar lessons. It was like an hour away, and I would put in the music that I wanted to learn, and my mom was like, what is that?
What good parents you had. Kevin Williams.
Oh,
man.
They put up with a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, yeah, with mine too, but for different, very, very different reasons. But driving you an hour to guitar lessons, my dad would not have done that. He'd be like, here's a guitar, here's 3. He knew some basic chords, he'd have been like, here, play these chords, and that's all you need to know.
When I say that, I'm thinking that same year that I got that boombox, I also got my bass guitar. So those were my two huge gifts that I got that year. And yeah, they started driving me after that. So I had bass guitar lessons. And the reason I got a bass is because I thought, if I get a bass, I don't think anybody I know, everybody has a guitar, but nobody has a bass. So I can get in any band.
You'll never be without work.
Exactly.
Let me guess, your voice changed that year too, and your balls dropped. That was a momentous year for Kevin
It
Williams.
was a big year. Yeah, the mullet was out too, man.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll. Oh, rock and roll. What was that?
Punk rock, baby. Yeah. Yeah, so I digress. Here we go again. But that was such a pivotal moment in time that most people that weren't there will never understand.
No, good old days.
The good old days.
Don't remember this.
So getting back to 1984, Triumph Thunder 7, I'm going to play one of those concept-related songs. So it's one of the proggier ones, and this is what kicks off the whole time concept part of the album on side 2. This is Time Goes By.
out. Returns to you in time. The wheel gets turned around by those who try for all their lives. Time goes by, bridges burn and big wheels turn, and time can fly. Will it ever bring you back again? You know I can't live without you. Time goes by. You know I'll never make it alone. Make it alone. Make it alone. Make it.
Oh, that's gourmet. That is gourmet right there.
I forgot to give you the album to look at, the album cover there. It's a really, really cool cover.
Dude doing exercise. Kind of a Michelangelo.
Yes, I believe it
Da
is.
Vinci. No,
Da Vinci,
It's
yes.
more of a Da Vinci-esque album cover.
With a cyborg instead of a man.
Yeah.
That's
But
very
yeah,
cool.
give it up for Mr. Emmett sounding like two completely separate guitarists on the lead.
I know.
Starts off
with
Richie Blackmore-esque, very clean picking.
Yes.
And then goes into the 80s.
And then hits the 80s, yeah, like, okay.
there's a button. There's a pedal that turns him into this 80s power god.
I learned this from Eddie Van Halen.
Click.
I don't know if you've heard of him.
It's dude from down south. So yeah, that was right on par.
I agree. And you could tell, I mean, definitely like the time signature is a little weird at times, lots of starts and stops. So very proggy, but it's Triumph prog. So it's like hard rock prog.
Yeah, but it doesn't get too off in the weeds prog.
No, it's still a 6-minute
keeps it going.
song, but yeah.
But that's reasonable. 6 minutes is okay.
All right. So next up, I got to pull this album cover out.
Okay.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
All right. So next up is this album that I used to stare at often at my local record store, Square Records in Lancaster, South Carolina. And the cover made me want to see this band. I didn't even know what they sounded like when I was looking at this. This was when I was first getting into music, and I would see this in the album bin, and I would look at it and I'd go, man, that looks like a fun concert. I bet these guys are awesome. But I just never really knew who they were until much later. But I will show you this album cover from their first official live album called Stages, 1985. So just explain what you're looking at. I mean, for fresh eyes looking at that and call it 1988, that was spectacular.
So across the top, you've got the typical Triumph logo with the lightning bolts. Then the stage is written in 80s font.
80s
is that
font.
just
the script?
Miami Vice 80s font, something like that, neon. And then you've got the picture of them on stage with these stage lights beaming down like they're being ascended into heaven.
And like a million lights.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Queen's live album, but to me it was much cooler because you could see the entire stage.
And of course they write at the bottom, in case you can't tell by the weight of this package, it's a double live album.
Yes,
They
double
They
live
wanted you to
album.
know that.
Sometimes they used to say 2 disc included.
Yes. No, and then, of course, the gloriousness of double albums, because you open it up like a centerfold. And you got all this stuff to look at while you're listening. And now, what do you look at? Facebook while you're listening to music. Duh.
Not me, because I still have that.
You still stare at that. Yeah, those idiots like me that still
I
stream.
didn't buy that until maybe 10 years ago. So, yeah, I'm still looking at that. So, first proper live album. I know we played from the US Festival last week, but this is their official live album that came out in 1985. Now, even though they were touring, obviously they recorded some of their tour from the last album, Thunder 7, that we just played in 1984. This is not just that tour. This is comprised of tracks from the previous 3 years, so 1981 to 1984. So a lot of these songs, unlike other live albums, a lot of these songs fade out, which is not my favorite when I'm listening to a live album.
Yeah, let the audience fade it out.
They didn't bleed it over because they're coming from different shows.
Oh, okay.
So, they almost all have fade outs, which kind of ruins the whole live thing a little bit, but it's still a damn good album. I think they picked some really good performances, probably why they did that.
Do they include some of the older stuff?
So 81 to 84. So
okay, good.
This is everything that they've done up to this time. So it's kind of all the hits. They do have a few in there that maybe you wouldn't expect, but nothing really too deep on that. But a lot of, Magic Power, all those songs are here. It went to number number 50 on the U.S. Billboard charts, which is pretty amazing for a live album in 1985 from these guys. I don't think it stayed there very long. Went to number 31 in Canada, and it earned them another Canadian Gold album. So I'm going to play the opening song because to me, there's nothing that gets you in the mood than when you have a little bit of that pre-concert roar, as it gets louder and louder. And then you get the track, whatever track they're going to play before they actually get on stage.
Oh, the walkout music.
The walkout music.
That was the best. I miss that. I miss the walkout music.
The arena with the walkout music is just, the tension is just building. So great. So this is a great Gilmour tune from the Never Surrender album that opens Stages. Here we go, When the Lights Go Down.
That could have kept going. I love that.
Opening track, and they hit you with that.
Just throws down the gauntlet right there. He's got all the 80s tricks now in his guitar solos. But
so
his tone, I love the tone of his guitar. It's got a clean, distorted element to it. It's not just heavy.
And it's almost like there's maybe some slight chorus or something on it.
That's it. It's got
kind of an 80s
chorded,
sound.
Yeah, I love that sound though. I always
so
wanted
good.
to get that. Never could.
So last episode, I made the comment, why are we putting in the should have been huge category with Triumph when they did have success? We said one of the reasons is they've largely been forgotten.
Yes.
And the other reason was we've heard 2 songs tonight and we've made comments about the guitar playing of Rick Emmett, and nobody talks about Rick Emmett, the guitar god.
No, you
and that's
never
what he
hear
is.
him listed as an influence. Like, hey, who'd you learn from or whatever? Nope.
He is one of the guitar greats, and I never hear his name mentioned.
He's singing while he's doing all that too.
Well, I mean, that was Gil.
Okay. I thought that was Rick
he was
singing
playing
it.
drums while he was singing that.
Okay, still give him props for that because I can't walk and chew gum.
And I said this last week as well when we listened to the S Festival. Gil's drumming sounds better live than it does recorded for some reason.
Just energy.
I think it is just the energy of it. And I so hate that I never saw this band. When you hear this album, even though it suffers a little bit of 1985 trappings of just recording, but it still sounds so damn good.
But
and it's
1985
so live.
me would have liked that. As I've mentioned,
I would've loved it.
the hairband stuff at the time was a turnoff to me. All the spandex, the hair, the makeup, all that stuff. I'm like, that's just not me. But these are just dudes up there playing their ass off. I could have gotten into that.
So good. So, oh my God, I didn't realize there is another connection here. Uh-oh. The other thing that Triumph did on the Stages live album was take a play out of the playbook of one band that released an album called Alive 2, and they did side 4 was nothing but new songs. So they had all these live songs, and then you got new music too. And yeah, you know the band I'm talking about, right? You remember who that was?
Def Leppard.
No, it was not. It was Kiss. A third Kiss connection. Oh, we can't. We gotta need one more.
Yeah, you gotta have. No, we're not allowed 3Ks in Georgia.
Can't put 3Ks
is
here.
against the law.
Nowhere. It's not cool anywhere. Yeah. All right, we're gonna need another one of those.
What's wrong with you?
But anyway, so not only does Stages have all of these great live songs, but it has 2 brand new songs. So I figured I might as well play one of those new songs.
How convenient.
It counts. How about that? So we are going to play the song Mind Games off of this same album.
Just one lie had changed his world. His dreams were gone, and she won't be back again. This time he's sure she's playing a game, playing mind games, mind games. She was playing with his heart. Mind games never change, and it's tearing
very well-written song, well-performed song, is a little too close to Jefferson Starship for me. Yeah.
So you see what's happening.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah.
if you recall the little snippet that I played before we went into Thunder 7, they said when they moved from RCA to MCA, they had already recorded Thunder 7.
Oh,
all right,
that's
so
right, yeah.
that was still under the Triumph. We're doing what Triumph does. Now we've moved into they putting out a live album, so they're putting out their old material. But now you've got MCA saying, "Hey, let's put some hits on there too." What do you say?
Hey,
Write some
war
hits for us.
Yeah.
Now they could have gone. They played the US Festival. They played Heavy Metal Day. They could have gone one of two ways. And this is the same thing Ozzy did. Ozzy could have gone various ways with his music.
He could have done show tunes. He still would have been Ozzy. I don't know.
Yeah, but he chose to kind of set the blueprint for heavy metal, and he's stuck in that, and he owned heavy metal. That became his thing. He could have gone poppier. His songs had pop in them, but he stayed the metal route. Triumph played Metal Day. They could have stuck in that, okay, after we played that, Quiet Riot got huge, Motley Crue got huge, we could become a hair band. There were bands that tried, Kiss being one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
They got a little hairy.
But instead, they chose the other route, which is we become more Journey, AOR, radio.
And Journey was huge.
They were huge. Those were
huge.
Lots of AOR
There was no
bands
reason
were huge.
not to go that direction. There's a lot of bands.
That's what's happening is now they're being kind of influenced and told to kind of go make a choice. Don't do Triumph stuff. Go to either one of these. Either you're going to be hair band or you're going to be AOR.
You got to put on some spandex leotards. And
they still put on the spandex. So I don't know if you looked at those pictures in there, but yeah.
No, I can't.
Yeah, Rick's got on some nice stripy spandex pants.
Let me see.
Yep. Look on the back. Look on the back cover.
He's got the
it's a little Miami Vice going on too.
Yeah,
right?
Oh yeah, 100% Miami Vice. That's right. Up in Canada, all those drug runners up in Canada.
The Miami Vice look. That's what the AOR bands did, not the hair bands.
All the Glenn Fries of the world.
Exactly.
They
all of the 70s
adopted
guys.
all of that,
and that's where these guys were. They were 70s band. They could make a choice. Either you stick with what a lot of the 70s guys are doing, or you can try to do what the younger bands are doing, like Kiss tried. But so you're seeing the choice that they've made.
Yes.
So this is going back to your comment from last week.
Completely wrong comment, which once again, if you listen to the podcast, that's not that rare.
Not a bad song, but you can see the change in direction here.
Yeah.
All right. So album number 8 is where the wheels started to fall off slightly because the MCA were really pressuring them to use outside writers, to focus on writing hit singles. On this album, Mike Levine plays no keyboards. He had been the guy putting all the keyboards on the previous albums, even though he's the bass player, he did both. So they have 3 outside keyboard players come in. They got hired to create all the keyboard sounds. Add more keyboards. Keyboards are in. Add more keyboards to your songs, folks. People want to hear keyboards in Triumph.
Synth is the way.
Synth is the way. So the other thing they did is because they did that, unlike, and we mentioned this last week, unlike Rush trying to play everything with foot pedals and samplers and everything that they did to try to do it all themselves, they just went out and hired this guy, Rick Santers, who is a guitarist and keyboard player. So they have extra guitar when they need it on the older songs, and they have keys when they need keys on the newer songs. And he also did background vocals. So, now Triumph Live is a 4-piece. And they did that until the end of their career with Rick. Frustrated that they did not have a hit when the label heard the album, they said, Gil, we're going to need you to sing less on this album, okay? We want more Rick. And Rick, we're going to send you off. We want you to write a hit. We need a hit tomorrow, so come back with a hit. And he's like, all right. And he came back with this song called Somebody's Out There. Reached number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100 over 15 weeks stay on the charts.
Bam! Just swinging his dick around like, oh, you want a hit? Wham! There you go.
Okay.
Poke the dude's eye out.
Yeah. Hit number 84 in the Canadian pop chart, stands as the highest charting song from the Triumph catalog on the Hot 100.
I've never heard of it.
This might have been, you said 87, but I'm wondering if this was the video that you saw. Somebody's Out There is a cheesy video. They look very uncomfortable.
Yeah, parachute pants.
Yeah, they look very uncomfortable. His hair is like teased up and not looking very Rick Emmett-like, and they just don't look themselves. And Rick was not happy with this whole thing. This was not what he wanted to do in Triumph. So the wheels, like I said, started to come off. As far as success, it was a fairly successful album. Triumph went on tour. Okay, I'm just calling him a guitar god, right? Rick Emmett. They go on tour. Their opening act is one Yngwie Malmsteen.
You release the fucking fury and forget about it.
Across the U.S. in 86 with Yngwie Malmsteen as the opener.
So much diddly.
That's a lot of diddly.
That's a lot of diddly.
Yeah. This is absolutely Rick's least favorite album in the catalog. He is very vocal about that to this day. And it's got quite a few poppy AOR songs and quite a few ballads on it as well. We're not going to go into any of those because it does have a few Triumph songs on here too. So it's not a bad album. Here, I'll show it to you. All right, even the album cover, you lose the logo. Oh, that's a bad idea. You lose the Triumph logo. Now, this even looks like an AOR cover. It's the worst cover in their history. Look at that thing. Yeah, just meh, right?
This is worse than the Jaguar rebrand a few weeks ago.
1986. It's called The Sport of Kings, and it just has Triumph in a just a normal font and across the top, and it just looks there's not really a lot going on.
No, it's
there's some like cards floating in the air or something. I don't know.
On the back, it looks like a Bee Gees album.
Exactly. Looks very, I don't know, yacht rocky almost.
Yeah, it's a Miami Vice Bee Gees yacht rock hodgepodge.
Yeah, and so I mentioned to you that they brought in external writers. One of the singles on this album is called Just One Night, and you listen to it and you're like, man,
that's a Phil Collins song. Probably about the same time.
Probably.
It was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one night.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Well, that's not what this is. But this is not a Triumph song. It doesn't sound like Triumph. And I looked at who wrote it. Our good buddy, our friend of the show, Eric Martin.
What?
Wrote this song along with his companion of the time, Neil Sean.
Wow.
So if you're going to go for the Journey sound, might as well just write with the Journey guy.
Write with the actual Journey dude.
And the Mr. Big guy who's going to have, some success.
So this is before Mr. Big.
This is before Mr. Big.
Wow.
This is when Eric was doing
I don't
Eric
think
Martin.
That came up in our interview with him.
It did not. We didn't talk about this. We should have.
I didn't know about it.
They had a video for this song. It definitely is 80s cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you should go check this one out and see what you think.
Are you not going to play it?
I am not going to play it.
Oh, man, you teased me
I teased
with
you.
cheese. I'm hungry.
I told you,
I'm going to
play
a snack.
I'm going to play a Triumph song.
I need a biscuit now.
All right. I need another biscuit, too. That's pretty good.
Rubber biscuit.
I'm going to play a song called Play With Fire because this still sounds like Triumph.
Oh, yeah, you had me at that, too.
Well, yeah, this is your theme song right here.
Yes.
I
excellent montage song.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. What was going on in your head?
Well,
Did you have a theme?
Yeah, man. Well, not necessarily a theme, but right now thinking about how it's such a dichotomy in my life. I've spent a lot of money making sure things catch on fire when I want them to. Like push a button, boom, there's fire. And now I just spent $500 on new fire extinguishers to make things don't catch on fire or to put them out. And it's like, what the hell is going on? It's either coming or going. I can't decide. So
and then we play with fire.
Play with fire. And I'm like, okay, but they just told me not to yesterday. So the fire marshals are on my mind right now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
I'm pointing at my shiny new fire extinguishers over in the corner right there.
Oh.
Yeah. That was because they found 50-year-old fire extinguishers.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I guess you do need new ones.
I said, I'll get some new ones. They're like, okay, thank you.
So I've said this before. I'll say it again. 1986 was the most 80s the 80s ever got.
That was peak 80s.
Peak 80s.
Yeah, it got weird after that, but you can point. If somebody missed the 80s, here's a sample right there.
Yeah, 86. If you want to time travel and you were like the biggest retro person, let's say you didn't experience the 80s. If you want to time travel, go to 86. That'll give you all the 80s you need.
89, the makeup was starting to come off.
Yeah.
It was more jeans and T-shirts.
People were looking towards the next thing.
Yeah. Next thing was already around the corner, but 86, maybe a little 87, but 86 Miami Vice, peak Miami Vice, peak hair bands.
Everything.
Aquanet, oh my God.
Every product, every pop moment that made the 80s the 80s happened in 1986, or at least that was when it was at its peak.
Oh my God.
This
Good
album
times.
came out, and that album is
Camaros were so Camaro-y.
What the hell did you just say?
Yes.
Mine was the ultimate Camaro.
And that is the most 80s, this is the most 80s sounding Triumph you'll ever get. And I still like it.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I like that. The previous one, but this one I like. Like I said, it's a good pep you up song.
And my God, I mean, Rick Emmett, we just said how much of a guitar god he is. He has just shown us on every single one of these songs, like, I'm a badass. You guys should be talking about me.
Speaking of diddly,
there's a lot. That was a lot of diddly right there.
And then singing through the stratosphere.
That was going to be my other comment. Is like, oh my God, the man's voice. Like, how did he do that?
Amazing.
Wow. This band's amazing. I mean, yes, they were up against, the hit maker that they were told to be, and it's not quite them.
We're looking back on it, and when you're in the middle of it, doing the best you can to make it bigger, or whatever you're trying to do, it's easy for us to sit back 40 something years later and look at that.
I hope they played this song live, because if Yngwie Malmsteen is going on before you, like, just come out and play this, and Rick can be like, just shut the fuck up,
sit down,
dude.
Yngwie.
Sit down,
Ingy.
Excuse me. I don't fucking deserve this shit to release the fucking fury.
All right, so next is the album that I told you last week I assumed was Survivor's Eye of the Tiger, and I'm going to show you why.
Boy.
So I'm a little dumbass. It's like 1987. I'm just getting into music. I'm a little skateboard nerd.
It was also peak dumbass for both of us.
Oh yeah, I'm like 8th, 9th grade ish, somewhere around there. And I go to Square Records, and I love to just go in there and look at things. And we could also rent movies, and I was renting horror movies, so that was usually what I was doing. But then I would peruse, all the
poor
albums.
Parents, once again.
Yeah, well, I would peruse the albums, and I saw this one, and I'm like, oh, it must be Eye of the Tiger. That's that Rocky's song.
Yeah.
Look at the cover, man. Of course, that's what I think. That's Eye of the Tiger.
There's Eye.
There's Big Eye.
And it's a tiger eye.
It's a tiger eye. So you can see how I thought that, right? You go ahead and you take that. So this is the album Surveillance by Triumph. Now it clearly says at the top Triumph, but
they've got the logo back.
Got the logo.
Well, part of it. They took half of it off.
Yeah, they decided to redesign the logo.
Just one lightning bolt.
I actually like that one. I think it's kind of cool. But, kind of a cheesy album cover in looking at it now, but at the time that was badass.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. I think of like the Judas Priest albums and everything else that was out. That's pretty badass in a way. But
I'm thinking back then I didn't buy albums. I bought cassettes. I missed a lot of this.
Yeah.
So between
it was too
cassettes
tiny, you couldn't see
and
it.
CDs, it took a while for me to get into actual album covers.
Right.
And looking at album
covers.
covers.
I was always the art geek, right?
Yeah.
So I always love to look at the art.
It's all about the font with you.
Yeah, it's all about the font. But yeah, the logo, if the logo is good, it's probably a good band. It makes sense to me. But anyway, so I saw this album.
On the back of Darth Vader helmet?
I know. You see the full thing on the back, like, oh, you should have left that off.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's a little Star Wars. But I also told you last week that my first Triumph album that I owned was a CD of the album Classics, Triumph Classics. And then upon reflection, as I was mixing the episode, I'm like, actually, I owned Surveillance.
That was your first one?
Because back in the day, you used to go to, usually it was like the big box record stores, not the locals, but the big box record stores, and they would have these sections where they would have what they call cutouts, where they would have albums there that were cheaper, and they had a hole in the corner, punched in the corner, or a nick. If it was a cassette, they would actually like saw a little bit of the case so that it had like a mark on it, and that's how they would discount things. And then so I found Surveillance probably in 1988, a year later after it came out, and I got it for like $2.
Because it had a defect in it somewhere?
No, just because it didn't sell for shit.
Oh, these were the ones they couldn't get rid of.
And so they would discount them.
I got it.
And they would mark it so that it could be discounted by punching a hole in
instead
it.
of just putting a price tag that says discount.
Right. And so Surveillance is actually the first Triumph album I owned, but it was on a kind of cheapy cassette, and so therefore I didn't really think much of it. I just knew it was that one that I thought was Eye of the Tiger.
You get what you pay for.
Exactly. It did get to number 82 in the U.S. It got to number 35 in Canada. They went gold again in Canada because Canada loves Triumph.
They're loyal.
Yes. And there were no major hits off of this album. It looks kind of metal for 87. It looks kind of Judas Priest to me.
The logo especially, the way they redesigned it.
But looks can be deceiving because this is a very, very much a mix of AOR and 80s style prog like Asia is what this is. And some ballads on here. You got more poppiness on it and more outside writers that helped on the songs.
Okay.
So just a continuation of what they had done on the last album, but even further. And the 1988 tour, the band members were not happy, and so they made a decision that the artistic direction was not where they wanted to go. And the September 3rd show on the Kingswood stage at Canada's Wonderland would be the final time they would play with Rick Emmett in that version of Triumph. And so I will let the band tell us a little more about that.
It was very unsettling that record companies somehow could lose that faith, and that even your partners might lose that faith. Why are we losing faith in ourselves?
Sometimes I ask myself, how can I maintain this? And the answer is that I don't think that I can. The specter of huge tours that last really long periods of time, they just bite too big a chunk out of my life. And I need time to be able to do some of the other things that I want to do.
Music is an infinite challenge. Creativity is an infinite challenge. I want to chase that. And Triumph was feeling like a box to me.
I remember once in a conversation with Rick, and he said that Triumph felt like an empty house. I knew what a house full of love was like and how it made me feel. And when he used that expression, I thought, I think he's got a point.
My own unhappiness with the circumstances of the band, the parameters of it, the way that it had played out over 13 odd years, I'd had enough. I didn't see a future for myself there anymore.
This is band splits after wowing 12,000 rock fans. Last show for Triumph guitarist. Yeah, this was the end. Triumph guitarist and guiding light Rick Emmett played his last show with the band yesterday in a bittersweet homecoming. Shortly after a show that left 12,000 fans standing on their feet at the Kingswood Music Theater, Emmett announced he was quitting the band he helped found nearly 2 decades ago in the city's West End, and took from beginnings in the Gasworks Tavern to the heights of the US Festival in California. Emmett's backstage announcement capped weeks of rumors that Triumph's end was near and spelled the end of one of Toronto's most successful and influential rock bands.
So that's from the Banger Films.
Okay. And the music from that's on Spotify, I just checked. So
okay. All right, great.
From the documentary.
Okay,
so
awesome.
if you like all that background music, it's there.
A lot of that is from the other albums and little instrumentals that Rick always played. But before this happened, this album Surveillance came out. It's still good, and I found another Triumph song on the album. It's a little proggier, so you're going to hear that kind of proggy side, but this is a Rick Emmett tune called Carry On the Flame. Hey, man, he's got something with fire, so he's your dude.
He's my kind of guy.
And just hearing him speak, like, I really love it, Rick Emmett. Like, he's got integrity, that guy.
And he sounds like just like a down-to-earth kind of guy. He's not your typical rock star dude that's
just normal
strung
dude.
out.
Here we go. Carry On the Flame, Robert.
And all the king's horses and all the king's men, won't you try to bring the world together? Oh, man.
Oh man, the nostalgia that brings back. You remember when we had to worry about acid rain?
Oh yeah,
that was going to be a
ozone layer.
horrible thing. You're going to walk outside one day. It's going to be a little spring shower, and your skin just melts off of you. And then the hole in the ozone. We're all going to get sucked out of the ozone, and we don't have to worry about that anymore.
We've got other problems.
We got other problems, but that was quaint. Acid rain. That's all. That was it. Because we were told there's going to be an ice age. That didn't happen. We're like, okay, but there's acid rain. Like,
last week I thought the prediction was true.
With the ice age? Yeah, we did. It's a mini ice age.
Right.
It lasted 5 days.
But thank God,
very
back.
local.
We're back.
Extremely local ice age in the South.
I think it was all across our country and
I don't care about
Canada as well.
I don't care about them.
Oh, okay, all right.
It only matters where we are.
What's wrong with you?
So this song is nostalgic for me because I've lived with this album for a long time, but I can only imagine with fresh ears after knowing what you knew about Triumph prior to this has to be really left of center.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, this song not quite as much, except when they get into the synth stuff, because you didn't have that.
Yeah.
You had a couple of organ hits, but other than that.
Sounds like Rick phoned up Keith Emerson and asked him to come over. Hey, Keith, can you come over and go ahead and call Rick Wakeman, too, and have him come over?
And the dude that took over for Styx, what's his name?
Oh, yeah. Because he's Canadian. Get Larry.
Larry
Gowan, yeah.
Larry Gowan. Call him up, too. Come on in, Larry. Spin that thing around. Spin it around. There you go.
As you're spinning around, you get some of those crazy, funky 80s sounds.
Yeah.
Will
This is exact too much time on my... Domo arigato. That was huge.
Time on my...
That was huge. It was a big,
it was a big hit.
Big hit. Let's copy that.
But this is 87.
Oh, that's
and
true. Yeah.
I can see why... I love it, but I can see if somebody was a rock and roll machine fan of Triumph and then they hear this and be like, what are you guys doing?
That's me.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I would be sitting there going, hey, so no.
Yeah.
Stop.
So Rick's done. He's out. So Triumph is over, right? That's it. End of story.
That's what you would think.
Well,
dun, dun, dun.
No, they have one more studio album.
And now, the rest of the story.
Yes, this is the most forgotten album of them all. So I didn't even realize this album was out until just a few years ago. I was like, hey, there's another one.
It's just very bottom shelf.
It looks like a greatest hits because it's just got the logo on the front and it looks kind of, I don't know, kind of like, what's the right word? In the 90s, what was it called?
Kiss!
No,
sorry.
No, it's like all the distressed. That was the word I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Like, everything in the 90s was distressed. It had to look like, like somebody had shit on it.
Hang on. Let me have that right there. Yeah. All right, that's great.
That looks way too pretty.
Print that.
Yeah, we got to grunge that up. Yeah,
Stomp
shit on it. Anyway, that's how the album cover looks. So I just assumed it was a great hit. No, it's an album called Edge of Excess.
No.
Edge of Excess.
I would say that they reached all the way excess.
Yeah. So
Edge
Gil
of wetness.
Gil and Mike, they decided to move ahead with, Gil's a singer. Mm-hmm. Just move ahead with Gil being the lead singer. He's the only one on this album.
So drum and bass.
Drum and bass. Yeah, this is a drum and bass. No, they hired a guy named Phil X to play guitar.
Okay.
So he's going to take the place of Rick Emmett. He is a Canadian gunslinger guitarist who had formerly played with another Canadian artist, Aldo Nova, in Aldo Nova's band.
Dun, dun, dun.
Never really been a fan.
Other than the one hit, there is nothing to be a fan of.
There's albums out there. They don't do anything for me.
I remember it was 91-ish in Tallahassee, Florida, him coming on the radio announcing he's got a concert and he's got a new album out. Hey, I'm going to play a song and you could just hear the DJ just go...
Actually, we're going to play your hit.
Yeah, he's like, okay. You go ahead and do that, man.
All right, so this guy, Phil X, he'd play with Aldo Nova. Now, he's more well-known to everyone now because he is the guitarist who replaced Richie Sambora in Bon Jovi. He is the Bon Jovi guitarist. He's been the guitarist since the 2010s.
Yeah.
So he's a very good guitarist, and you'll hear him here. He sounds great. They kept Rick Santers in the band as well, so he's that extra guitar, keyboard
so still
guy.
A four-piece.
Yeah, so there's still a four-piece, and and he plays the keyboards, he even writes some of the songs on here, so it's not very Triumph. So they even did a tour with this album, which I don't remember at all, in 1993 North American tour, and all of the Rick Emmett stuff was sung by Rick Santers. So not only is he filling in on guitar and keyboards, but he also is singing Rick's parts, and then you've got the gunslinger playing all of Rick's leads. So when they did Magic Power and Fight the Good Fight, Gil didn't sing those, it was Rick, which is interesting. Rick singing Rick. So no chart success. I don't see anything showing that they got anywhere near gold or anything. I don't see any kind of... I see nothing about this album of any success.
Family and friends bought that album.
The only thing I see is that the song Troublemaker was featured in the 1992 film Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. I do have that in my collection. It's a great one. That's the one where the two guys' heads meld together. It's super cool, super gross.
Shut up.
God. They get all twisted. It's really cool. Anyway.
Yeah. I couldn't make it through the first one.
So that's I have all
the hooks in the skin.
Oh yeah,
like, no, I'm out.
So
Turn
good.
that.
That's one of my favorite
not
series.
watching that.
I think I have all 12 or 13 of the films. It's really good. Anyway,
Hellraiser gets retirement pay finally.
Pinhead. They got a new Pinhead now. It's not Doug Bradley anymore.
Oh, bless his heart.
Anyway, the times were changing in 92. You remember this? Yes, the times in 92, the sounds, the looks, everything was changing.
Really?
That did not get lost on Triumph. So Triumph's music changed slightly.
Don't tell me they went
well.
grunge.
Well,
what were they thinking?
Not grunge, but you can tell that they're going, what should we play now? And Felix, the new guitarist, goes, don't worry, I got you. So he's got you. Here's the title song from Edge of Excess. Here's Edge of Excess.
I can see why he got picked up by Bon Jovi. I mean, he's got some chops vocally and guitar wise.
Well, that was Gil singing.
Oh, is that Gil singing?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. I thought it was the new guy.
No,
because you said the other guy saying he's got a range almost as good as Rick's. The first
Gil's
Rick.
a great singer. He just kind of got overshadowed by Rick because a lot of Rick's songs were the hits.
Because I was going to say, this is basically a new band that just happens to have the drummer and bass player from Triumph.
Exactly. It's not a bad album. It's not a bad song that I just played, but it takes everything away from Triumph that made Triumph unique.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a hodgepodge of damn Yankees and Bon Jovi 5 years too late.
So to me, it's like they waited until the 90s to finally go, oh, we're going to try to do that hairband thing. And you know what? Skid Row's really doing well. Let's do the Skid Row thing. And this sounds to me like they're trying to do Skid Row.
Yes.
And funny enough, they would actually play a show or a couple of shows with Sebastian Bach as the lead singer for a bit.
Whoa.
Because he was a huge Triumph fan.
I didn't know
He's from Canada. And so he almost joined them, but of course it didn't work out because it's Sebastian Bach.
I see a pattern there.
Yeah, but you can't get any closer to Skid Row music than this.
Right there.
And it just takes everything Triumph away from it.
Don't like it. I mean, I like the song in the sense that it's a good song, talent.
It's fine until somebody tells you it's Triumph.
Yeah, and then I'm like, no.
no, it doesn't work. So I cannot end this show with that. That is their final studio album.
Yeah, legally, no, we can't do that.
After this came out, they did a little tour in 1993. Triumph is done. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, largely why they've been forgotten is because, one, they went out this way. So they kind of progressed, to not sounding as much like Triumph on their last couple of albums, and then they just got forgotten. And you've got those handful of songs that you might still hear on classic rock, but even those are getting phased out over time.
Yeah, and they never came back as a legacy band.
Well, they sort of did, but they only do like one-offs. So on April 6, 2008, Triumph was inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame.
It's not that big. It's like 2 rooms.
You dicks!
Well, this was at the Juno Awards, so it's like at their Grammys where they do this. And I think they had another Hall of Fame. They got like 2 Hall of Fames are in Canada. And the band decided, you know what, we might as well do something since we're getting honored. And so they put the band back together and they said, we're going to play a couple gigs. 2 gigs. First time since 1988. They got the 3 of them back together. And on my 35th birthday, June 7th, 2008, they played the Sweden Rock Festival. And then on July 11th, they played Rocklahoma in Oklahoma, which was like a hairband thing. And the band would not perform again until November 16th, 2019, which is another 11 years later when they play to an invite-only kind of super fan kind of show, and that is what was being filmed when they were making the documentary. And so the whole documentary goes through the Triumph's history, but it also documents the last time that Triumph has played live, and they got up and played 3 songs in front of people, and the people didn't know.
Yeah.
It's a really cool scene at the end of the documentary because the fans just think they're there to see nostalgic pictures and meet the band perhaps if they're there, but they're not really there. And so they, the people are looking at all the photos and basically Gilmore, he has a studio and he kept everything. So he's got like his own museum for Triumph in there. And people thought they were just hanging out and seeing that. And they said, everybody sit down. We're going to let you watch a little message from the band to you in a documentary. And they got a screen up and they play the message from the band. And then all of a sudden the lights go out and the screen opens and the band are there in front of them. They had no idea that they were going to play for them. And Triumph is there and they play 3 songs.
My God, people were wetting their pants.
Oh, yeah, they're going crazy. But it's only like 300 people. So it's super fans who are still fans. It's just a really cool scene. So I totally
still not
think you should watch
still not a legacy band. I mean, I'm talking bands that get together and tour and things like that. They never could. I mean, I guess it's just, you think it's just Rick just doesn't want to tour anymore.
He did his own thing. So Rick has his own albums out, and he's a classical and jazz guy,
right? But still, he doesn't want to do these big rock and roll tours.
It's not his thing. He had enough of it.
Wow.
So. He's got integrity. I mean, the guys, but, for people like you and I, like, we never got a chance to see them, so it kind of sucks.
Right, because we thrived on a lot of legacy bands coming through that we didn't get to see back in the day.
Especially in the 2000s.
Yeah, and it's dwindling down now. I think we've seen pretty much everything out there at least once or twice.
If we haven't caught them, we're probably not going to see them.
Yeah, at this point. It's
at this point, these guys are in their 70s. A lot of these bands that we like are in their 70s. So.
And Rick Emmett hitting the old Rick Emmett stuff is going to be challenging when you're that age.
Yeah, totally. So I'm going to play a final live song from one of their last performances Before we do that, though, because of where they're playing, please remove your horned helmet, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Mark. Woke up the dog.
He's up.
Dog.
Oh, good. Yes, we had to play that because we're going to play a song from Live at Sweden Rock Festival 2008 on my birthday. I just wasn't there. Everybody was honoring me, and I wasn't there. Too bad. We must go to Sweden Rock one day, Robert. That should be our goal, is to go to Sweden
Is
Rock.
it during the warm months of Sweden?
It is. It is. It's in the summertime.
Bunch of Swedish women not wearing as much as they normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are a sexist pig.
Well, so what? But what's wrong with being sexy? I mean, there's no
Sexist.
All right. So here is a Triumph song, I Live for the Weekend, off of the 1980 album. So taking you back to the glory days of Triumph in 2008.
I'm appreciative that you ended it on a high note.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes, exactly. That's how you end this episode.
Exactly. We exorcised the demons from 87 and 88.
Yes, and 92.
92. All those demons.
Yes, we did. That is Triumph back to being Triumph.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that we hear the 4-piece Triumph because you had 2 guitars.
I was going to say that must have been the second live.
Rick Santers was there for that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 2008, they're still bringing it. They only did 2 shows, so it's not like they had their touring chops together and they still sound amazing.
Yeah.
What else can you say? We talked about this band over the course of the last couple of years, and we wanted to do this, and we got the go ahead to do it. And here we are. Now you have heard from every Triumph album. Final thoughts on Triumph.
Well, we've firmly established our obscure credentials. For 5 years, we pulled stuff out of our ass left and right. Yeah! That it was time to go back to something that, like you said, it was not obscure. It fits in with the forgotten category.
Absolutely does. And are you willing to go through the whole catalog, or are you going to stick to the 80s?
I'm going to
70s, 80s.
I'm going to sneak into the later part of the 80s probably. I don't see myself listening to the last 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other stuff, obviously, I could skip a ballad here or there. The stuff we played, I liked.
Okay.
But when it got into the full-on cheeseball, other writers, things like that, the Journey sound of stuff.
You haven't even heard those songs.
I don't know if I want to. I really love the power of the live early stuff. Yeah. And I'm fine with sticking in that genre.
But definitely a forgotten band, and we have just, honored them with 2 episodes, and I do love this band, and I love all their albums. Yes, there are some that I love more than others, but they're such good songwriters. When you get a true Triumph song and not some other outside writer, it's a special thing.
And stay tuned. We're going to do a whole episode on Rick's jazz albums.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be a good episode.
Woo!
I can't wait for that one.
A lot of downloads.
All right. Well, until the next time, people.
See you later!
I was sitting here, and all of a sudden, this bitch comes and just fucking pours some water over us.